What would you think about the idea of $10,000 grants to all businesses, regardless of which area you live in, regardless of reduction in gross receipts, regardless of the number of employees you have? What would you think of the SBA basically sitting back like Oprah, you get 10,000, you get 10,000. Is that a vivid enough picture? You get $10,000. Well, there's a proposal that would do just that. And I'm going to explain all the details for it, the likelihood of it, and where exactly we're at right now. Also, I'm doing a $500 giveaway to my viewers just as a thanks for the success of this channel, how great this channel has been doing. I'm so grateful for how well this channel has done. All you have to do is there's a link in the description. Just join my free Discord and there's instructions in there, and we are doing the drawing on Friday. Completely free to apply. Just click that link below. So let's get into this proposal. Like I said, this new proposal would open up EIDL grants, the $10,000 full grant or the difference of whatever you received up to $10,000 to all businesses, regardless of area, reduction in gross receipts, regardless of all that criteria, how it was supposed to be under the original CARES Act. Where we're at right now, it's a little bit of a different program. Under the CARES Act, small businesses ended up receiving $1,000 per employee. It was very frustrating at the time. There was lawsuits in order. Nothing really came of it because the SBA had the final say on how exactly these things were dispersed, and the funds were supposed to be sent out within 3 days. And of course, that it didn't exactly happen that way either. And then December rolled around and the December stimulus bill, and the bill outlined saying, hey, you actually need to up these grants to $10,000, but let's add in some criteria, make this a little bit more targeted down. So that's when they added in the low income area requirement, the 30% reduction in gross receipts, and the 300 employee limit. And then the next stimulus bill came around and we have the $5,000 supplemental targeted EIDL advance that kind of funnels this even further down to businesses that saw a reduction in 50% or more in gross receipts, have 10 or fewer employees, and again are in a low income area. But there's still senators, Congress people who don't think it should be done that way. It should be open to everyone. And frankly, I believe it should be that way. It should be open to everyone, and the application process should open back up. So let's take a look at this bill and what I have highlighted here as to the most important areas I believe, on this bill. So we can see today, this was actually proposed a couple weeks back, but it's just now building up more and more steam. Today, U.S. Senator Jackie Rosen, we're going to call her J. Rose, and Senator John Cornyn, we're going to call him J. Corn, announced the reintroduction of their Ensuring Increased Disaster Loans, EIDL, for Small Businesses Act. So this was proposed back last summer, right after the CARES Act, when there was all sorts of senators saying, hey, this was supposed to be $10,000 for all businesses. It got sent to a committee, but then it kind of fizzled out after that point, and it's building up steam again. It's reintroduced back at the congressional level. Now they say this is bipartisan legislation, and this is really important because it is. Of course, we have a Republican and we have a Democrat, and there's also many other supporters, but these are the two that reintroduced this bill. Bipartisan legislation. And I'm going to discuss also the odds of it going through, exactly how it sits right now. But this would assist our nation's small businesses impacted by the coronavirus pandemic by providing an additional $15 billion for the EIDL loan advance grants. So the advanced grant portion of the EIDL program. This would go on top of all the recently appropriated funding that was just added to this program as well. Remember, we just had an additional $15 billion that was added to this program under the stimulus bill that was just passed. The bill would also remove the SBA's cap on EIDL loans below $2 million, the threshold set by Congress. So right now, the threshold for the EIDL loan is $150,000, so they would bump that up to $2 million. And it would require the SBA, this is the most important part for everyone, would require the SBA to provide the full $10,000 EIDL grant advances to all eligible small businesses, regardless of size or location, as intended by the original CARES Act. Now, it does a few other things. This is just a brief summary, but we're also going to go into the actual bill text. That way you can see a little bit more of the nitty gritty. I like really digging into these things. That way you can see the real implications. Like, summaries only give us so much, but first we'll do the summary. Provide $15 billion to this program, prohibit the Small Business Administration from placing that loan cap below $2 million. So that's kind of a backwards way of saying you have to up it to $2 million. Prohibit the SBA from placing limitations on the EIDL advance Under the bill, all eligible small businesses shall receive the full $10,000 or up to that $10,000 if you already received some portion. Require EIDL advance grants to be dispersed to all eligible small businesses within 15 days. Now, I think that this is probably the hardest one on the list to do. I mean, the SBA can try their darndest to get things out in 15 days, but I don't think that would happen, whether it's written into law or not. There's just a speed that it seems like building these systems is just almost impossible to hit these deadlines, it seems. I mean, we can see this with the targeted advance. They said 21 days, which seemed reasonable, but then the IRS had a hang up as far as getting the transcripts of tax returns back, and it's been well over 21 days for many people who have applied for the targeted advance already. And then finally, just require the SBA to submit a monthly report showing the status of the loans, the status of the advances, and how much funding they have left. That way Congress knows, hey, do we need to appropriate more funding or resources towards this program? Oh, and I also dug up the actual bill text. And first, make sure you check out the link in the description for Webull, where you can get 2 free stocks with a $100 deposit. You don't have to spend the $100. You can get your free stocks, pull the $100 out if you don't want to spend it. It's basically free money. So check that out. But this is the bill text, and I highlighted what I thought was most important here. Let me zoom in a little bit just so you can see it a little better. The format here is a little odd, so I'm doing my best over here. So this first part is on the EIDL loan and upping the amount. So we can see that a business may submit to the administration a request for an additional amount to increase the amount of the loan in an amount requested by the applicant. So you're just able to increase a larger amount, provided that that amount is lower than $2 million. So right now it's based on a 6 months working capital. You can appeal and try to get a little bit more, but there's that $150,000 cap that they're looking to increase with more funding. And then we have the grant section. Any recipient of an advance under the subsection before the date of enactment of ensuring increased disaster loans for the Small Business Act of less than $10,000, the administrator shall not later than 15 days after the date of enactment of that act provide to the recipient an additional advance that is the total amount of $10,000. So $10,000 minus whatever you have already received. Now, what are the odds of this actually getting passed? Now, it is a bipartisan measure, but the fact that there's that additional $15 billion, not 15 bucks. What is this, a Subway sandwich? It's $15 billion in funding makes me think that it actually will be really hard to pass on the bipartisan level. So I think if this were to be passed, they probably would strike out the additional $15 billion in funding, because $15 billion was just added under the most recent stimulus bill. And remember, they just reintroduced a bill that was from last summer. So I think that would probably be striked for the greatest odds of it getting passed actually in a bipartisan manner, because with that $15 billion there, I don't think it would be passed unless there was some kind of budget reconciliation or some way to work it out that way. I also wouldn't be surprised if there was a change to allow people to apply if they haven't yet applied. I haven't seen that in this bill text. I might be missing, but I just haven't seen that. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was added in there. But we also have to remember, in order, the next steps for this bill would be it'd go to a committee. The committee would say, yay, nay, change this, we like this. And then it would be up to the Speaker of the House to put it on the floor and the Senate Majority Leader to put it on the floor. And would that happen? We're not totally sure. Sometimes it's a bit of a surprise whether that actually gets on the floor. And then if it does, of course, there needs to be a vote on it. So there are a few steps before this happens, but at least there are people who are pushing for this to happen. And overall, I think we're moving in the right direction with these things. And frankly, I think it's pretty exciting. So that's going to do it for this new bill. I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a profitable day.